This video is brought to you by my book, 150 Self-Publishing Questions Answered, the book for writers wanting to know the A to Z of writing, publishing, and book marketing. It'll give you clarity, confidence, and teach you how to turn your imagination into income. Level up your author business today by visiting authorlevelup.com/150. The book is available in ebook, paperback, and audio, narrated by me. That's authorlevelup.com/150. What's up, guys? Michael Aran here with Author Level Up, helping you master the craft of writing. And I make these videos because I believe that each of you has Stephen King level talent and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications every time I have a new writing video. And in the past couple weeks, I said, hey guys, let me know what your most burning questions are, and I would be happy to answer them in a dedicated video. And you guys showed up. You asked a lot of questions, so I can't get to all of them, but I'm going to answer as many of them as I can rapid fire. So let's get to it. Nadia asks, is it possible to go both Kindle Unlimited and wide? Like, what if I post some on the program and go exclusive and some on every platform? This is a great question, Nadia, and it's one that I get a lot. I've done a video on Kindle Unlimited. It's probably about time I do another one, so maybe I'll do that here pretty soon. You can check it out at the YouTube link above my head. But to answer the question, the answer is no, you cannot go. Well, let me take that back. It depends. It's a lawyerly answer, isn't it? It depends. Kindle Unlimited is exclusive for the ebook only. So you can have your ebook in Kindle Unlimited, but you can have your paperback and your audiobook, if that's not exclusive, in as many places as you want. But as far as the ebook goes, you cannot have the same ebook in Kindle Unlimited and then have it on Kobo or Barnes & Noble. Amazon will send you very nasty emails and potentially cancel your account. So the answer is no, you cannot be both. But if it's for format, then the answer is yes. Alexander De Souza asks, my question would be, how do I find test readers? Another great question, Alexander, and by that I assume you're talking about alpha or beta readers. Check out my How to Find Beta Readers video on the YouTube card above my head. But where I would start, quite frankly, is I would look in your existing audience, if you have one, and just send out an email newsletter or a Facebook post or a Twitter post and just say, hey, I'm looking for somebody to read this book and review it, or give me some feedback and see what kind of people apply. I think starting in your audience, if you have one, is the best place to start because those are your super fans. These are people that are going to give you the most feedback and be the most invested in your work. But if that fails, what I would do, and this is Michael Laran's opinion only. Some people might disagree with me on it, but I think it's the easiest way to get a reader, because your number one problem with test readers or alpha readers or beta readers is reliability, right? Because they're volunteers, they've got families, they've got lives, they've got jobs, and they may not get you the feedback when you need it. So to minimize that problem, what I have done in the past few books is I've actually hired beta readers. Believe it or not, there are people out there who basically make money at this now, where they say, hey, I like to read X, and X genres. My rate is X per 1,000 words or whatever. And you can find these beta readers on Fiverr.com. You can find them on a place like Upwork.com. And you can basically send them your manuscript with some payment terms. And once they send it back to you, you pay them. That ensures that you meet your deadlines. It ensures that you're going to get quality feedback. And it also ensures that you're going to get your manuscript back on time. So be sure to check out that video as I detail that process in greater. I go into the specifics of it. Okay, Gory Girl 1996 asks. I can't say that name without laughing. The gist of the question is, if I go through a traditional publisher, can I pay a designer to do my covers, even though I know that the publisher will do their own cover for the book? Well, the answer to that question is that if you signed an agreement with a traditional publisher, chances are, unless you negotiated it in your contract, they have the final say on the cover, and they will handle the cover. You really don't have a say in it, again, unless you negotiated that. So, I think it would probably be a waste of money to invest in a cover designer when your traditional publisher is going to do it. Now, that said, it may be helpful to provide them some inspiration on what you would like on the cover. That's fair game, but again, you got to get that negotiated into the contract. It's pretty rare to have a traditional publisher sign a contract with an author and then have the author do the cover. That's unheard of. So if you're signing the deal, just know that that's one of the things that you give up, which is control. Okay, ProBD asks, I'm a self-learner, learning this language, I assume English, as a second. How much should I write every day? Any suggestion? There's no hard and fast rule in how much you should write every day. I think you should write what's comfortable for you. But if English is your second language and you are wanting to publish books in English, it would be my opinion that writing as much as possible probably wouldn't be a bad thing, as it's going to get you more familiar with the language and it allows you to make more mistakes early. But definitely write as much as you can, but don't overdo it. R.N. Thomas asks, how do you push yourself to write past a place that you aren't enjoying in your book anymore? R.N., that is one of the most common questions I've gotten over the past, 2 or 3 months. I think something's in the water. A lot of people are asking me this question. You got a book, you've been through what I call the honeymoon phase, where everything is grand, feels like the story is nothing can go wrong, and then usually in my experience, somewhere around the 30% mark, the honeymoon phase ends and you're stuck in the murky middle and everything sucks and you don't know what to do next and everything you write feels like it's terrible. What do you do? Well, I did write a book on this, and you can find it in the book description or in the video description or in the YouTube card above my head, and that's called Be a Writing Machine. And it's my best-selling book, and it talks about this very thing. How do you beat writer's block? How do you push past it? And what I would say in your particular situation, at least from what I could kind of glean from what you asked, is you're in a scene where you're just not enjoying it. It just doesn't feel good every time you sit down and start writing words. What I would say is keep pushing. Is the first thing. I know that that's probably not the best answer that you wanted to hear, but keep pushing, because even if you're writing, let's just say, for example, maybe you write 1,000 words a day and you're sitting down and you're writing 50 and it's like, oh, this sucks, man. My word count's terrible. Probably blew your NaNoWriMo, and you're just not getting anything done. The key is to keep showing up, though. Because even if you write 50 words here, 50 words there, 100 words one day, 200 words another day, you're still way below your average quota. The very act of showing up will eventually get you to a point where you can break the logjam. And then once you break the logjam, you're going to look back on this piece of work that you're like, I didn't really like it very much. And then you're going to feel pretty good about it. So the writing is just the emotional roller coaster. Don't get stuck inside your head. Just keep showing up and keep doing the work. And you'll eventually find that you'll break through that logjam. The worst thing to do, though, is to stop writing. Because that's what a lot of people do. They get to a point in their book where it's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's not good. And then they stop writing. And then what happens is they never solve the problem, and eventually they get back to the book 6-7 months later, and eventually they break that logjam, and then they think, I could have done this sooner. Why didn't I do this 6 or 7 months ago? So just keep pushing. Check out Be a Writing Machine, and I hope that helps. Oh, and another thing on that question, when you publish the book, say you finished everything, you pushed the logjam, you got it done. When you finish your book, you're going to look back and you're not even going to be able to remember the sections that you struggled on like 2 or 3 years from now. You're going to look at the book, you're going to pick it up off your shelf one day and you're going to be like, oh yeah, maybe I think I struggled with this section. I don't remember. It's actually pretty good, It's all in your head. It's just an emotional trick. So don't fall for it. Don't let your brain trick you. Just keep showing up and doing the work. Okay, Maiden asks, I would love to get your perspective on the financial side of self-publishing. What initial and ongoing costs are there? What are the best and worst ROIs? What platforms are bringing what share of income, etc.? If you're not comfortable sharing specific figures, approximates would still be very informative. Oh, wow. What a great question. And it's a multifaceted question. So I'll answer each of those sub questions. But I did do a video on this. I think it was early in the year. It was called the cost of self-publishing. I'll throw that in the YouTube card as well. I think I might run out of YouTube cards for this video, but I'll also throw it in the video description for you as well. But to answer the question first of the initial costs of self-publishing, what does it cost to get your writing business off the ground? Well, first and foremost, you got to pay, at least this is my opinion, all right? I'm not saying this is something you should do, but it's something I would highly recommend. First thing would be your website, all right? So you got to purchase a website, a hosting plan, and then a domain name. Hosting, I typically pay about, I think it's between $250 and $300 a year, but I've got multiple websites. And then I pay about $12 a year for a domain name, and then I pay an additional like $15 for like domain privacy, so people can't see my address and all that. And I use Bluehost, and I would highly recommend them. I'll drop a link to them below. It's an affiliate link. I do get a commission if you check it out, but I've used them since I started publishing in 2014, and it's been fantastic. So you do the math on that cost there. For your first book, you're looking at, depending on what you choose, if you go the medium route, say you pick a cover designer, you can find a decent cover designer these days for anywhere between $200 and $400 on average. Your mileage may vary on that. And then if you hire at least one editor, which I would recommend is a copy editor, depending on the length of your book, let's just say you got a 50,000 word book, you can find a cheap copy editor. It may not be the top of the line copy editor, but you can find a cheap copy editor for anywhere from, maybe like $200 to $400. It's kind of the same, right? I know some people will quibble with that number, but so you do the math on that, add in those costs, and then you're going to have some initial infrastructure. I call it. It's not a sexy word, but that's the only thing I can think of to describe it. Infrastructure costs. So, for example, if you have to create a business with your government. So, like if you create a sole proprietor filing or an LLC filing, there's certain fees that are going to be associated with that per state. They're usually not very expensive. I think in Iowa, I paid like $20 when I first started to get a sole proprietor business set up, and that wasn't very difficult. I would highly recommend a business checking and savings account in the very beginning. Sometimes that will come with a fee. I think I pay like $5 a month for a checking and savings fee. So, just keep doing the running tally on that. And that's basically what it would cost to get your business off the ground. Add in writing apps, like if you buy Scrivener or Ulysses, that sort of thing. Any other apps that you might need to get your business off the ground. So like Scrivener, Vellum, if you use that for formatting. But you don't have to buy the most expensive stuff right out of the gate. So those are the initial costs. You can spend your money on a lot more other things, but to me, those would be the initial costs. And then once you publish your first book, you would also want to think about an email marketing service. I use GetResponse. I pay about $200. Actually, I take that back. I upgraded my plan this year. I think when I first started, I paid about, I think it was like $150 a year. Which is great, but I upgraded my plan, so now I pay more. But I like GetResponse. I'll drop a link to them as well. I've been using them since the very beginning, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. All right, second part of the question, which is what are the best and worst ROIs? So I can only speak from my own personal experience. I'll tell you that the things that got the worst ROI in the very beginning of my career was actually marketing. And that's not because the marketing wasn't effective. It's because I was an egghead and I didn't know what I was doing. One of my worst failures when I first started is I had a book and I threw, I think it was like $100 worth of ads. Like there's these little sites where you can go and you can buy a promo and they'll email their list, of dedicated readers. I bought like $100, it might have been more than that, for a book that I didn't even know would sell or not. And I lost all that money. So your marketing expenses, be very careful with those in the beginning because those can go away really quickly. As far as my best ROI items in the very beginning, Scrivener, hands down, I paid $35 for it back when it was $35, and that $35 has paid for itself 10,000 times over. Pretty much any writing app I invested in early on paid for itself. All the things that I talked about, with website hosting and email list provider, all that stuff paid for itself because that helped me generate revenue. Having a website helped readers find my work and therefore allowed them to buy it from me. Or buy my books from me. So that made sense. Having an email list, even though I only had like 5 people on my email list my first year, I could still send them an email when I had a new book launch, and some of them would buy the book. And now I'm at a point where my audience is big enough for both my fiction and my nonfiction that I can send a launch email, and I know that probably in that email itself will pay for the cost of my website or my email marketing service. And you combine that with the number of books I have that I write a year, then it's an investment that definitely pays for itself every year. So those would be my initial ROI assessments. And then the third part of the question, what platforms are bringing in the biggest share of income? Right now, the Amazon combined, so like Amazon, Audible, Amazon Associates, I think that brings in about 45% of my income. Quite frankly, I think that's a little too high, and I'm taking a lot of actions to reduce that. As far as my number 2 for books, I think it's Draft Digital. Draft Digital is a distributor. I think they're my number 2, and then Google Play would be my number 3. Those are kind of my top areas. I'm wide, so I only have 1 book in Kindle Unlimited right now. So, that's kind of the breakdown of my income generally. All right, Edwin Torres asks, my question for you is, do you think it's best to hold on to my manuscript after I finish editing and have a professional edit on it? Or should I publish and hopefully make some money to edit my following novels? Please help. All right, so this is the age-old question of, do you release your book without editing and take your chances and hope it works? Call that the self-publishing shuffle. Or do you spend the money up front, publish the book, and pray like God it sells so you can make your money back? And, the answer to this question is very nuanced. I think, just me personally, I subscribe to the Tommy Pickles philosophy. I think a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do. If you don't make any money and, it's a lot of money for you to publish a book, then try it, see what happens. Worst thing that would happen is people say, oh, this book needs editing, it needs this and that. Well, you can always unpublish it. You're not going to lose any royalties for doing that. That said, it's really not ideal. If you can afford it, pay for an editing. Even if you pay for a cheap editor, that's better than nothing. Pay for that, publish the book, and then you don't have to worry about going back and hiring an editor down the road. Because you're always going to have another book to publish, right? You're always going to have expenses, to the earlier question. You're always going to have something you got to pay for, and just kicking the can down the road makes it less likely that you're ever going to come back to that book if you want to be prolific. So Michael Laron's opinion only would be to publish everything baked in. And yes, it might hurt, especially the first few books. I mean, hell, I've written over 50 books, and not all of them are profitable. But at least I know that when I publish the book, it's as good as it can be, and I can kind of push it out of my mind. I don't have to come back to it. All right, keep your questions coming. I will answer them in future videos. If you are interested, drop them in below, and I will be happy to throw your guys' question and your names on camera and answer your question. And I wanted to let you guys know that I do have a book that answers the most common self-publishing questions called 150 Self-Publishing Questions Answered. I wrote this book with the Alliance of Independent Authors, which is a nonprofit organization that helps self-published writers, and they have an amazing mission. And purchasing that book would certainly help me personally, but would also help a nonprofit organization that advocates for writers. And you can get your copy at authorlevelup.com/150. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you in the next video.